Thank you, gentlemen, for that insightful discussion. Next, ladies and gentlemen, let's explore the investor-friendly legal framework to facilitate FDIs in Sri Lanka. And to speak on this, we are privileged to invite the Honorable Ali Sabri, Minister of Justice of Sri Lanka, to give us an overview of the legal framework.
Hello everybody. As the Minister of Justice of Sri Lanka, I was invited to speak today on the legal framework of our country and the manner in which it is conducive to the investors and those intent on doing business in Sri Lanka. Given how wide an area of topic of the legal system is, I will not speaking in depth, but will be taking you through some of the key areas, which I hope will present you with a fair overview of the Sri Lankan legal framework. The Sri Lankan legal tradition is largely based on the common law, with the Roman Dutch law being the basic law of the country. English or the common law has replaced large areas of this law, including those relating to commercial and company law, and thus a lot of transactions are governed by English law. In this regard, the advantage is that the law in Sri Lanka is transparent and easy to understand. As an investor, you will see that there is no mystery in Sri Lankan law, and you will also find a level of familiarity in the legal framework, as it is to a large extent a reflection of the English law. The commercial law and the banking law in Sri Lanka is more or less the English law, and thus the approach to transaction and the legal work will be smooth transition to what you are used to from the other parts of the world. Another factor that works to Sri Lanka's advantage is that it has a vibrant, independent judiciary. Appointment to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal are made under the provisions of the Constitution, and there is a high level of protection to maintain the independence of the judges and their tenure. The appointment to the minor judiciary and the original courts are generally carried out by the Judicial Service Commission or on the recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission by His Excellency the President. The operation of the judicial arm of the government is carried out by the Judicial Service Commission, which is headed by the Chief Justice. Disciplinary and administrative control of the majority of the judges, other than those in the superior courts, are being carried out by the Judicial Service Commission, thus ensuring a high degree of independence devoid of any undue influence or interference. In terms of the legislative environment, Sri Lanka has a multitude of laws aimed at incentivizing and protecting the investors. The chief amongst the laws is the Board of Investment Act. This act has a multitude of provisions which make Sri Lanka an attractive destination for investment, in addition to affording the investor a high level of legal protection. In addition to this, the BOI has the power to grant certain exemptions to tax and duties for foreign investors meeting a special threshold. In the last few decades, many foreign investors have thrived and achieved extremely high level of success by virtue of this process. The court structure adopts a business-friendly approach to hearing dispute relating to commercial law as well. Sri Lanka has set up a specialized commercial high court a while ago, which is mandated to deal with commercial transaction above a threshold limit. Company law as well as the intellectual property laws are also being dealt by these courts. This court has gone a long way in overcoming the issues faced by those involved in commerce and enterprise. Currently, plans are underway to increase the number of the commercial high courts in order to further strengthen this process which would benefit the investor. Plans are underway to set up a special division in the Supreme Court to hear appeals from the Commercial High Court. This would, in effect, fast-track the entire process, right from the institution of the action, way up to the hearing of the final appeal. Sri Lanka has passed the Arbitration Act in 1995, which is based on UNCITRAL model. This gives parties the option of having their dispute referred to arbitration and designating the order of an arbitration tribunal as having the same effect as a judgment from a court system. Over the years, arbitration has been successful in resolving dispute between parties in a more efficient manner and currently works alongside the conventional court structure in our country. With the recent passing of the Port City Bill, the Port City, which is a special economic zone to facilitate investment, is being set up in Colombo. This will function in a way which is custom made for investors and is designated or designed in a manner to maximize an investor's return, as well as being a one-stop location for all investors' requirements. One of the topics that come up in any discussion on investment in a particular state is the Ease of Doing Business Index. Sri Lanka ranked 112 in the year 2018 and now had come up to 99. As a government which is concentrating on foreign investment, joint ventures and BOTs, instead of foreign debt, we understand that our position on the ranking are not very competitive. We also have identified one of the reasons for the Sri Lankan rank in the ease of doing business related to certain improvement which need to be seen in the sphere of the administration of justice. In order to meet these challenges, the Ministry of Justice, along with key stakeholders, are in the process of rolling out an ambitious project to improve the efficiency and efficacy of the administration of justice process in the country. In order to achieve the same, we have identified several key areas where it is important to see an overhaul of the system, some of which are increase the number of courthouses and the judges to ease the pressure on individual judges to carry out their duties more expeditiously and efficiently. Embrace the technology in that embarking on an ambitious project to digitalize the entire court system. An ambitious program to reform the laws, including repealing and replacing the outdated laws and introducing public-friendly and efficient legal system. Infrastructure development to support the modern needs, such as building state-of-the-art court complexes and supporting and upgrading all related institutions, such as the Attorney General's Department, the government analyst, the legal draftman, and others connected to the administration of justice. As I have set out, the government is in the process of implementing a range of targeted and overdue improvements to the justice sector, which will not only improve the ranking on investment-centric indexes, but also have a significant positive effect on the investor experience in Sri Lanka. Government is fully committed to reforms. It has already conceptualized the reform program, identified the areas which need to be targeted, and backed up with the necessary funding. A 500% increment had been put to the sector by the last budget. This also represents the largest commitment in the Sri Lankan history towards justice sector reform. The program has a full-fledged project office and support of a full-time staff and experts in the field, and focuses on 5 areas, namely infrastructure development, digitalization and court automation, criminal law reforms, civil law reforms, and commercial law reforms. As I have outlined above, one of the main areas of improvement to the legal structure is the increase of the number of the courthouses and the judges. Over the next few years, 100 new courthouses are to be opened all over the country, and also a doubling of the number of judges as a part of the infrastructure development. The rationale is by increasing the number of judges and the courts, there will be lower number of cases allocated to per judge, which will in turn result in faster hearing and more expeditious and efficient hearing. Digitalization is our second aspect which I wanted to expand. One of the key targets of the justice sector reform program is the digitalization of the court system and the introduction of court automation. We have already taken steps in this regard. The Supreme Court of Sri Lanka has started digital hearing. To support this, rules were made under the Constitution. They apply for electronic filing of applications, motions, appeals, and other documents. And I am pleased to say that it is progressing well. The Court of Appeal too have started hearing appeals remotely and has achieved good level of efficiency. The goal is to migrate towards a system with e-hearing, e-filing, and video conferencing. It's a part of the standard functioning of the court. This will allow day-to-day hearings and also include provisions such as those foreign witnesses to testify remotely, thus saving time, money, and also widening the ability for courts to hear investment and commercial disputes. Court automation and digitalization process is currently at the procurement stage, and we will soon have a state-of-the-art legal system with best-in-class court automation and digitalization. Digitalization is not only limited to the court system. The company registrar as well as the land registry is also in the process of being digitalized. This will enable companies and businesses to have access to vital automation and obtain the necessary documents and documents online, and to do away with time-consuming and inefficient methods of requiring a physical presence in those offices. This will have a significant impact on the ease of doing business, as well as drastically cutting down the time and effort taken for essential tasks in running businesses in Sri Lanka. We have recognized that the legal framework need to be updated to be in line with the current global trends. Therefore, there is a widespread updating of legislation to bring it in line with the current global standards and also to replace outdated laws. We understand that investment in Sri Lanka would ultimately result in doing business here and dealing with local entities, and thus there exists a need for the ground level legislation to be positive towards doing business well. Many laws have already been updated, and range of other laws are in the process of being revamped and updated in line with the current global standards. In updating these laws, all stakeholders are being consulted through a system of advisory committees comprising of experts in the relevant field to ensure the final outcome is a high standard. The final outcome is of high standard. These advisory committees also entail areas of commercial law, corporate law, investment and banking law, which would allow the necessary updating to be done on a rapid basis. Therefore, updating the legislature is no longer to take unreasonable long, as we are moving towards streamlining the process from identifying the issue up to the final acts or laws being passed in the Parliament. Some of the areas which are being updated and introduced are those relating to data protection, privacy, banking, intellectual property law, the company law, and the procedural laws relating to civil procedure. There are also special laws which are aimed at investors, such as those relating to the Port City Act and the Board of Investment. In addition to this, there is an update of laws relating to lands and land transaction, which is focusing on making the process more efficient and minimizing fraud. This would have a positive effect in immovable property transaction within the country, which is vital for a functioning business. One of the key components of the reform program is a rapid and widespread infrastructure development drive. As outlined earlier, there will be a significant increase of courthouses. However, it is not only a mere increase in the numbers, the courthouses themselves are to be next generation. The drive is a move towards state-of-the-art smart courts. They would be fully equipped with the necessary technological requirement and will be designated to function and will be designed to function in a more efficient manner by having a dedicated case management system and planned court administration. The desired result is to have courts where cases will be heard faster and more efficiently. The flagship structure in this drive is the House of Justice, a multi-tower dedicated complex in Colombo, which is designed to be investor and public friendly. The improvement to infrastructure will also entail the creation of new types of courts. One of the key changes being introduced the establishment of an investor court. Under this, cases meeting the criteria of being investors' dispute over a value of rupees 100 million will have specialized court allocated to hear the cases on a day-to-day basis. This will drastically reduce the time taken to resolve the said dispute and will have the advantage of being heard in a specialized setting focused on the investor. There will also be creation of small claim courts, which will be aimed at directing smaller claims to a separate system to free up the resources for larger claims in the main courts and also allowing the parties to fast-track resolution process for standard claims. This too will work for the benefit of the investors and businesses who can take advantage of the fast-track process to resolve smaller claims. Given that the litigation may always not be the most effective solution, we are also prioritizing the mediation as a method of dispute settlement. A move toward non-litigatory means of alternative dispute resolution to go parallelly with the court system at the benefit of saving the time and cost. This is in line with the current global practices, and we are confident that it would offer commercial parties a more suitable option in certain cases where litigation does not make business sense. The court procedures are to be looked at carefully to minimize time spent on litigating. One of the key components is the reform of pre-trial conference, which aims at expediting court hearings by agreeing on the terms of dispute at the outset, thus preventing unnecessary long litigation. This is in line with global standards and will also cut down the cost involved to all parties. As a part of the sector-wide reforms, we are upgrading the institution relating to administration of justice, as we want to avoid any bottlenecks in the process of justice administration. Thus, we have identified all connected and supporting institutions to the administration of justice need to be upgraded in line with the main reforms in order for the process to work efficiently. Accordingly, institutions such as the Attorney General's Department, Government Analyst Department, and the Legal Draftsman Department are being upgraded and improved. We have seen considerable success in pilot project initiated at the Government Analyst Department with a record improvement in efficiency and hope to roll out similar project in the other institution as well. In doing so, we are working with a multitude of international development partners who are providing us with technical assistance and expert support. These reforms are happening at a rapid pace with the full support of all relevant stakeholders and government institutions. The goal, which I am confident will be achieved within a viable period of time, is to have a world-class justice administration system which would be geared towards encouraging, protecting, and incentivizing investors as well as those who plan to do business in Sri Lanka. We are moving forward and we are on track to reach our goals. We invite you to be a party to this drive and to move forward with us towards our journey to becoming a world-class investment destination. Be our partner in our success so that you and the country can both benefit from a strong relationship backed by a trustworthy legal system. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ali Sabri, for your remarks on the legal framework. Ladies and gentlemen, this culminates day one of the plenary sessions. We hope to see you tomorrow.